Dr. Stephen Greer just made a bombshell claim on his new podcast in episode 2 about this guy right here.
A lot of the work we did was on what I call the range, where the U.S. government and its private partners use to test all kinds of things, weapon systems and resilience to weapon systems of certain craft. And so you see a lot of exciting things. My work has included the recovery of downed UAP of non-human origin.
How long have you known this secret about unidentified anomalous phenomena being of non-human origin?
For more than 10 years.
And at no stage were you ever subsequently told that the craft was of non-human origin?
I will tell you that during this process over the last couple of years, it's been confirmed to me by ranking members of the UAP task force that what we were working with that night was in fact NHI, and it was not a unique experience.
Now, I made a longer video, and there's way more of a preview about that gentleman. I made a video about that, so I'll put a link down in the description if you want to check it out. All right, so that guy tomorrow night is coming out with a full interview on News Nation with Ross Coulthart to explain his entire story. And Stephen Greer just dropped a new episode of his podcast where he is claiming to have a direct connection with that guy. He's basically claiming that's one of his guys, right? That's one of his people that was going to come forward and blow the whistle on this whole thing. So let's take a look at the clip.
Welcome to episode 2 of the Dr. Stephen Greer podcast. My name is Michael Mazzola. I'm a filmmaker who has collaborated many times with Dr. Greer, and I'll be asking a few questions. Dr. Greer, why don't we kick off with the big news that is breaking right now?
Sure, and thanks, Michael. I've spoken for some time about a group of people who have worked at black sites out west in sensitive operations, where I have visited those sites. The leader of that team has come forward. He had a little cameo on News Nation yesterday. That would be Wednesday. That was talking about his involvement with the crash retrieval operations and what have you. There will be more that will be coming out Saturday on that same show with Ross.
So tell me about the moment when you realized that you were involved in a retrieval of non-human technology, alien tech.
So it became very clear the first time our communication process and procedure was modified. And then just visually looking at the object on the ground, you could tell that it was extraordinary and anomalous. It was not human.
What people need to understand is that this has evolved a lot in the last 2 months. As of this past summer, that individual, Jake Barber, and his team, as well as people from other sites who are working with him, we're going to just collect a lot of the evidence of the crashes, the bodies, the retrievals, the man-made craft, hand them over, and we'd put it out publicly. Then they decided to do it through some government process with an office called DOPSR, which clears things that are going to be written and released at the Pentagon, DOPSR. You can look it up. Another one of those alphabet soup acronyms in the government, which are endless. But those are the ones who review something you're going to print or release that's of a top secret nature. And then also they decided to unmask themselves. I've talked about this in the last month or two, that this was a very big development, a very good development, that instead of it being an anonymous drop of information and intelligence and images without provenance, because this happens all the time in my situation. Someone wants to remain anonymous, they give me information, but I can't point to where it came from. Which, of course, people then say, well, maybe Dr. Greer got that from some unreliable source, or it's not legitimate. So in this case, their bona fides are extremely high. They're going to be established in terms of their long-term involvement with these operations, decades. And the other part of it that's very exciting is that because they're naming themselves, they're adding the credibility of having been there and are currently boots on the ground at these facilities, right? It's not like they were there in the 60s or 80s or something. These are current operations from firsthand people who are operational there, who have been special forces and and embedded with corporate activities at the Lockheed Skunk Works and Northrop Grumman and what have you. That's really quite a major development. Now, the evidence that exists is way vaster than what you're going to see Saturday. It's going to come out in parts over the next couple of months. And a lot of this is strategic on their part to see how does the public handle it? What does the media do with it? And more importantly, what pushback and dangers are there coming back to them from rogue elements of government programs, whether it be law enforcement or other activities.
Now, let's break down that clip a little bit. But before we do that, let me tell you about the sponsor of today's video, because, guys, I got to keep the mics on. It's the only way I can do these videos. So I appreciate the support and the patience. All right, y'all, let's talk about the sponsor of today's video, Straight Arrow News. All right, you can use this link down below right here on the screen, san.com/vetted, VETTED. Sign up today. It's free to join. Okay, you can get the app if you have an iPhone, Android phone, tablet, whatever, or just on your desktop. Really easy to use, just straightforward. It's free to use, and you basically just get unbiased, straightforward news, right? Not left-leaning, not right-leaning, just straightforward, okay? This is the news. Here's the facts. Make up your own mind. I absolutely love the site. It totally fits with what we're doing here at Vetted, and there couldn't be a better sponsor, honestly. I hope they stay with us because I actually use this product, and I love telling y'all about something that I personally use myself, to be honest with you. Again, free to use, right? Just use the link below. There's one in the description or the top pinned comment of this YouTube video, or again, just use the website on the screen, san.com/vetted. Go sign up. Really easy. Look, let's just take a look at it, right? This is what you're getting. They got videos, they got articles, all independent journalists who are just providing the news, okay? No BS, no nothing else. I love it. Again, it's something I use. That's probably the best part about it. It's actually something I use, and you can get everything the way you want it, y'all. So I highly recommend checking out this site, san.com/vetted. Check it out today. Peace. All right, so let's talk about that clip from Dr. Greer's episode 2 of his brand new podcast. Again, link in the description. Go check it out. There's one thing that he says in there that's kind of interesting, which is this.
The evidence that exists is way vaster than what you're going to see Saturday. It's going to come out in parts over the next couple of months.
Now, because you see, in episode 1, he said something different. He said this.
The reason we're starting this podcast now, rather emergently here today, is because we have a group of people who are in the process in the next 72 hours or so who will be coming forward with a great deal of information and evidence related to the UFO and NHI or extraterrestrial issue.
So I don't know, right? Does it seem like the goalposts are getting moved? I thought everything was coming out this weekend, right? But apparently there's going to be even more stuff coming out in a couple months, y'all, right? So I don't know. Now, if you want to find a little bit more information about episode 1 and more about what he talked about there, I made another video about that. So again, I'll put a link in the description if you want to see more about that. Now, this new whistleblower that's coming out, Jake Barber, on Saturday officially has a Twitter account that he just started today, and he put out his very first tweet. It says, "We're not alone. The skies are not classified, and our consciousness can't be redacted. I encourage us all to look upward and look inward, and to become the best versions of ourselves quickly. We need you. A new era awaits. Let's go." So there you go. Brand new tweet. Now, when I looked into Jake Barber's followers, he's only following 7 people at the time of this recording anyway. And top of the list, Mike Herrera, which you might remember is another Dr. Stephen Greer whistleblower. Now, I have made quite a few videos about Michael Herrera. Here's two right here. I did a 2-part series. I'll put links in the description so you can go check it out. And because I have the only interview with Michael Herrera's former team leader, Nathan, right, who disputes Michael Herrera's story. Again, the only interview on the internet, period, with this gentleman. So I encourage you to go check it out if you want to. Again, links in the description. Now, I'm going to play a quick trailer from that so you can kind of get a sense of what those videos are like. Who is Michael Herrera? Today we'll learn the story of an ex-Marine who claims to have had an out-of-this-world experience that would shock even the most open-minded. It involves a UFO, Marines, private military units, psychic human trafficking, and potentially reversed alien technology, all wrapped up in a bow of a good old-fashioned global cover-up.
Michael's team leader, I'll just use his first name. His name's Nathan. He has a lot of credibility to speak against Herrera because he was his team leader.
How do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Nathan. I was Herrera's team leader on the 31st MU back in the day. I was in the Marines 2007 to 2015. I'm just here to tell my little piece of the story.
Do you remember meeting Michael Herrera, like the first time you ever met him, or?
This is a kind of a unique part of it is we went to boot camp in the School of Infantry around the same time. I don't remember if I knew him there, but my first recollection of meeting him, he got brought over to our company and he put in our platoon and he was given to me. It was a weird situation because we just got back from our first deployment, and in the Marine Infantry, like your first year, your first deployment, it's terrible, and then it's kind of like a tradition. So he shows up, and my recollection is he went UA. Basically, he just ran away. Didn't go on the first deployment, right? So when he came to me, I had to treat him like he was the brand new guy with all the other brand new guys. So it was a weird situation because he'd be like, "Oh, Nathan, oh, what's up?" And I'm like, "Nope, you're getting treated like everyone else." So that's how I first met him, because it was a weird situation. He was in a different company. And what I heard was he took off, didn't go on the deployment. So
how do you do something like that? Like, how do you take off and not go on deployment? Like,
just run away.
now, one last point I want to make before I end the video is there was a part during that clip that I shared of Dr. Greer, again from episode 2 of his new podcast, link in the description, where he said this.
Then they decided to do it through some government process with an office called DOPSR, which clears things that are going to be written and released at the Pentagon, DOPSR. You can look it up.
Now, there's been a lot of, conversation around the use of DOPSR, right, for whistleblowers coming out, because they're kind of still have their hands tied behind their back, right? And essentially, they're coming out as a whistleblower, but also saying, I've been approved to say this, right? I'm not revealing anything classified, essentially. It doesn't mean anything's true or not true. It just means there's nothing classified in what I'm saying. So something that I found quite interesting. Now, during my investigation about Michael Herrera, I remember reaching out to AJ from the Y-Files and getting his opinion on Michael Herrera. And take a look. And one person who I wanted to get their opinion on this story was AJ from the Y-Files. So I emailed him, and this is what he said. I distrust anyone who spent any time in military intelligence. Once you're in, you're never out. Unless I see hard evidence, my first reaction is PSYOP. I want to be wrong, but I wasn't wrong about Doty, Elizondo, Putoff, etc. And I don't think I'm wrong about Grush. Herrera, I don't have enough info, but if he's intel, his story is Pentagon approved, just like the Tic Tac video was approved, and it's just an airplane. So, all right, we'll wait till this Saturday, tomorrow, depending on when you watch this video, and see what happens, right, with Jake Barber and his story. I'm excited to hear the entire thing, see this crash retrieval footage that's going to be included in this interview, right? Kind of a first, right? UFO crash retrieval footage, which we've never seen before. And yeah, look, I'm open-minded. I want to see, right, what's going on. But I will admit his connection to Michael Herrera is, you know, for me personally, kind of a red flag because I'm not too comfortable with Michael Herrera's story. But, you know, one doesn't necessarily negate the other, right? So, look, I'm open-minded. There's a lot coming out right now. There's a lot of threads, a lot of dots to connect. There's all kinds of things. So, you know, make up your own mind, and we'll see where this goes. All right, y'all. We'll see you guys on the next video. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all. Peace.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep.